Hey everyone, Doug MPA with another video on the Deion Sanders saga. Once again, he left Jackson State University at HBCU to go to the University of Colorado. A lot of people in the media, particularly a lot of black media, feel some type of way about him leaving Jackson State University. We support Deion Sanders over here on this side of YouTube. I'm all for him doing what's best for him and his career. So let me preface this video by saying that make sure to hit the like and subscribe button so it shows that you support this content. This video is going to be about Bomani Jones and the stuff he was saying on CNN the other day. Let's get into it. Oh, the beginning of this video is just a little bit of background context. We're going to start right when Bomani starts running his mouth. Here we go.
Is now the perfect person to talk about that. Bomani Jones, a third-generation HBCU graduate who went to Clark Atlanta University.
CNN grown. I'm sorry, guys, but this was on CNN.
He's also the host of Game Theory with Bomani Jones, which will kick off its second season on HBO and HBO Max in January. Wow, that is a giant lead-in to you. You have lots of accomplishments. Thank you this morning. So, you know, this is... I kind of feel like we're talking about family business, like in front of everybody, you know.
Oh, really, Don? Sure.
I'm talking about because there's a long tradition in the African American community about HBCUs and whether you go, whether you're not.
Like I said in my last video, I'm from the West Coast. I never had that conversation in my household. I have a brother who's a professional graduate degree. I have a sister who's a professional graduate degree. We didn't have those conversations. The whole PWI HBCU thing is just tired to me.
Why can't Deion Sanders just choose to be with who he wants to be?
Yeah, Bomani, why can't he just choose where he wants to go? Let's hear it.
Oh, he can go take whatever job he wants, but when you come into the first job and sell the idea that you are going to be the savior of HBCUs and you are going to raise the playing field, not just for Jackson State, but for everybody else, and you're going to do it because God told you to do it.
He said that.
Yeah, he said that. He explicitly said that God sent him to do.
Yes. Maybe his God did tell him to do that. But if you look at his accolades, what he accomplished when he was there, mission accomplished. What else does he owe the school?
Do this. So then when you leave, yeah, people are going to ask questions about what exactly it was. Now, I don't go into the sellout place necessarily, but...
Oh, really? He doesn't go into the sellout phase? Let's keep listening.
I do think, I mean, he's the monorail salesman from The Simpsons. He went in, he sold the big dream. Now, if you paid any attention, you knew the dream he was selling wasn't possible. It was not an achievable one that he had. But he sold it, and he got people to believe it, and then he chucked the deuce and left.
So, you know,
this guy, man, once Deion Sanders, 3 seasons, 27-5, back-to-back championships, brought $185 million in revenue to that school on a $1.4 million salary. Donated half of his salary back to the school. Used his connections to get uniforms for the players, a practice field built, but that's not enough for Mr. Bomani Jones, I guess.
Shannon Sharp, right?
Yes.
So and you've heard his comments.
Yes.
I'm sure. I want to play them for our audience because Shannon Sharp has a sort of a rising tide lifts all boats. If he did it for Jackson State, then maybe that helped the entire HBCU. Let's play this, and I want your response to it.
So Shannon Sharp, I can go either way on him. Sometimes he hits, sometimes he misses. I don't really have an opinion on him, but when he's right, and he's right here.
Deion did something that very few coaches are able to do. He leveraged his relationships.
True.
Skip, no football team had more uniforms than Jackson State except the University of Oregon.
True.
Under Armour, every single week, they got new helmets. They got new unis.
True.
He did this with Walmart. He took $150,000 of his salary and helped finish building the facilities.
He did.
There you go.
He leveraged his relationship with American Airlines. He's brought eyes to HBCUs, Skip. There wasn't nobody talking about HBCUs, especially now. They're talking about, they're on television. That's because of him.
True.
He gave you a blueprint. Now follow the blueprint.
So Shannon Sharp was right there. If HBCUs can attract top coaching talent, this is what can happen. You can get a person like Deion Sanders to take a chance and come to your school, and it can be mutually beneficial to both parties, the coach and the school. Deion Sanders showed that could happen, and it's up to Jackson State to take what he brought to the school and the blueprint and run with it. It's their responsibility now, not Deion Sanders.
He's saying basically mission accomplished. What do you think?
Well, I mean, part of it, and I love Shannon to death, part of where I disagree with him is so much of that was singular to Deion Sanders. Like, we do have to admit that he is the charismatic individual. Like, just because Deion could do it doesn't mean that everybody else can do it. That's the first part. The second thing, they're going to play in the Celebration Bowl, I believe, next week in Atlanta against the champions of the MEAC. They played in that bowl game last year. South Carolina State blew their doors off in that game. Do you know the head coach at South Carolina State? Can you name a single player at South Carolina State? I can't. It brought attention to Deion. It brought attention to Jackson State. You weren't going to bring attention to all these other schools in the time period that he was there. Like, if he was really going to accomplish that, that's a 10-year program, at least.
You're saying he had.
You can't tell me that there aren't other former professional football players that want to go into college coaching, that didn't want to be an assistant coach before they became an actual coach. Those people can't be that few and far between or that rare. Come on.
Had to stay.
Yeah.
And so 60 Minutes profiled him just like a month or two ago. And it was on that program. He said, I believe that God called me collect and I had to accept the charges. And then he said this. Let's play it.
It's a lot of folks sit back with Twitter fingers and talk about what they're going to do. And I wanted to go do it.
Do what?
Change lives. Change the perspective of HBCU football. Make everyone step up to the plate and do what's right by these kids.
And if you look at a report that Deion did after that, he lays out all of his issues with the administration. They were under-reporting ticket sales. They were propping up the football program, and they were thinking about moving the school to a different conference when all the rest of the sports programs weren't. Because once again, if the school moves up a different conference, all of the sport teams have to go up a conference. Coach Prime said it. The football team may be ready, but is the basketball team? Is the baseball team? Are the women's sports? No. The football coach and the football team can't be the only ones spearheading this effort of success. And he's right.
Didn't he do that at least by starting it? And now, as Shannon was saying, is it up to others to carry it forward?
I mean, if he can go find another Deion Sanders, right? Like, that's the thing of this, is that if you're talking about establishing something long term, right? Something that is sustainable, the idea, he got it started, now you go do it.
Aren't you making his blueprint argument? Because there are others who are in the NFL or former NFL players who are charismatic.
Who could do it?
And who could step in.
That's exactly what I'm saying. There have to be others. Now, those people that are out there who are former NFL players who want to get into college coaching might be more likely to take a chance on an HBCU or a smaller college because Deion Sanders did it. And now a preemptive effort from these schools can be to recruit these people, have a better system in place, allocate more funds, do these type of things, because it needs to be an effort on both sides. HBCUs need to try to attract these coaches, and coaches should be looking for these opportunities.
Into other
Deion Sanders has
HBCUs.
spent the last 35 years telling us there ain't but one Deion Sanders. And now he's telling us go find somebody else to do what Deion Sanders does. You can't have this both ways. I don't judge him for taking the job at Colorado. They probably increased his salary by something like 15.
Oh, but Bomani, you are judging him. Just being here, just having this conversation, you are.
Times, right? I totally get that. It all makes sense. But what he did was something that college coaches do all the time, which is you have to sell people 4-year, 10-year plans when your plan is always 1 year at a time. That's the only way that you could really pull that off.
Okay, so if that's what college coaches do all the time, what are you mad at Coach Prime for? You just said that you pretty much figured, like all college coaches, that he was talking about a 10-year plan only going 1 year at a time, but then you're sitting on this panel running your mouth.
And so he came in and he sold a long-term vision for what was going on at Jackson State, but his goals and ambitions were always to be a Power 5 head coach. My take has always been he went to Jackson State primarily because he wanted to be a head coach, but didn't want to ever be anybody's assistant coach. So he had to
I see no problem with that at all. He's Coach Prime.
find somebody that would give him a job and make him a head coach, and so he could have that on his resume, and then he could take that to try to get the job that he actually wanted. Jackson State was the place that could do it, and he did a lot of good work while he was at Jackson State. But all the
But remember, anything that comes after but, anything before it, means nothing.
bigger, grandiose notions of what he was doing for somebody else. No, it was what it always is. He did it for Deion, and that's fine if you don't tell us that you're trying to do this for somebody else.
Dang, he's mad. He's so mad. See, it's people like this that make it tough in the black community. We should just celebrate success. Deion Sanders was a success for the HBCU, and he's going to be a success at the University of Colorado. Deion Sanders is taking other HBCU coaches with him. This should be a win-win, but it can't be because of guys like Bomani Jones here.
But can't he do both? Can't he go to a program and be there for 3 years, only have 5 losses like he did, and bring the attention? Maybe the next person won't be, prime time. They won't be as charismatic as he is, but he still did bring attention to it. And what I've seen from the athletic director and other people
That's a really good question, Janine. Thank you for asking that question for us.
was they were grateful for him, and they talked about him going on, and something he signaled because of the financial disparities here.
No, he's very good, but I think the magnitude of the financial disparity is so much greater than anybody realizes. I
Not Coach Prime's problem. Sorry, buddy.
think the magnitude of the financial disparity between HBCUs and other FCS schools, the smaller division in Division I, is bigger than people realize it is. So there's room to criticize him for the way that he...
Look at, just as he's talking, look at the headline underneath. Critics accuse Deion Sanders of being sellout for leaving HBCU. It just makes me sick.
is left, and for the fact that his initial rhetoric is not in line with his ultimate.
Bomani, then what would you have him do?
Yes, good question, Don. I can't stand him either, but good question. Let's see what Bomani Jones' answer to what Deion Sanders should have done. Let's hear it.
What would you have the man do?
Oh, well, I wouldn't have come in the first place and said that God sent me here to fix HBCUs, and God decided that in the middle of it you were supposed to leave, right? I mean, like, the thing I've said is maybe God wants 10% of $5 million and not 10% of 375. If God can do math, I can understand why it is. He sold a dream and then walked out on the dream. People have the right to be critical of that. I also would have taken...
That's kind of what I figured he would say. Once again, Coach Prime doesn't owe Jackson State anything. He did his job. He's moving on. You're mad. And I'm one of those people, if you feel some type of way about it, just admit it. Just say, I don't like the guy. I don't like the fact that he's leaving. Just say it, because these are purely emotional arguments from purely emotional people.
In the job that he took at Colorado, right? It's not a judgment of the fact that he took the job, but this is not in line with what he told us for all these years.
Once again, he said earlier that college coaches talk about a 10-year plan when they're planning for 1 year. But apparently Deion Sanders can't do that. Everyone else can, but Deion can't.
But the reason I'm glad we're having this conversation is because it does highlight those massive financial disparities. And so I guess the question is not just do you have to hire a charismatic coach who brings attention to your program to fix it? What's the other way to fix it?
The problem that we have...
Yeah, what is the other way to fix it, Bomani? And thank you, Betsy, for asking another pertinent question.
Here is, if you watched, especially during the pandemic when everybody had all their crypto money and you had all these different schools that were like, yo, we now have more billionaires donating to our schools, plural, billionaires, because that's what makes this work really is those donations and big television deals. That's where the money comes from. We got 8 black billionaires in the United States, and you can name 6 of them.
All right, I'm going to have to stop this. I can't listen to him anymore. Bomani Jones is mad, just like Jamel Hill is mad that Deion Sanders did his job and is moving on to a better position, make more money, and be more successful. Once again, we support Deion Sanders over here. Okay, Deion Sanders set a blueprint. HBCUs have a good program. Reach out to attract good coaches, charismatic coaches like Deion Sanders. They're out there. Attract them to your school. And the same thing that happened at Jackson State University can happen to you too, even if it's for a couple of years. 1 good year, 2 good years, 3 good years are better than no good year at all. Let me know what you think in the comments. Bomani Jones, you're mad. We know. Just say it. Like, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.